It's showtime. CFM Radio.
CFM Radio. Let's go.
CFM
What's
Radio.
up?
Drix, how are you tonight?
Dude, I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing all right. Celebrating the release of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Rolling some metaphorical dice in your computer there, in your computer RPG.
Me and my girlfriend been banging on it all morning with it. It's been pretty good. Loving Baldur's
Nice.
Gate 3. Me and her are doing, we're a couple of elves running through doing an all-elf party. And we're doing,
Okay.
we originally thought we were going to do a lot more talking. Turns out people
How'd
don't
that
really
go?
like to talk to elves.
Oh. All right. Learning the hard way.
You know what? It's okay. She's an elf cleric. I'm an elf warrior or fighter. You know, they meet the back end of the sword. It's pretty nice.
All right. So you're on your way to becoming some classic Dungeons and Dragons murder hobos.
We're trying not to.
Don't punish the DM.
We've had a couple of really cool interactions. There are some of the cooler early access interactions for sure. But I will say a lot has changed from early access. They get to the point a lot quicker. It's a much more streamlined experience, so that you jump right into the action and the story. More importantly, faster.
Ooh.
Before no BS. No messing around. Get to the juicy pit while still easing you in with a tutorial. It's very nice.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds like it's worth it. Definitely worth diving into.
I definitely believe so. But Drix, what have you been playing?
So, yesterday I actually picked up BattleBit Remastered, which is like Battlefield, but looks like Minecraft. And I'm not the best at, first-person shooter games, but yeah, I should have picked it up when it was on sale, but I didn't mind paying the whole $15 for it and getting another, early access title. But it's a lot of fun. I had a great time. You can have like 64 or so player teams, and yeah, I charged into a couple good fights with like 60 other dudes behind me, just spreading out into absolute chaos with vehicles and blocky looking characters. And
It runs the whole gamut. Runs the whole gamut of like vehicles, land, sea, air kind of deal.
Yeah, let this be, an example. This is, if you're going to make a Battlefield game, it has to start here at least, and then you can shine up the graphics all you want. But this is like what we expect, even at the barest bones. It's only 2 gigabytes actually, the whole game. So I have enough spare space on my internal drive to run it smoothly off of that, and it's not hefty to carry around digitally anyway. Oh no, man! But these indie game devs, they're doing a good hefty portion of the metaphorical work.
Absolutely. I mean, we love indie games here on CFM.
It all depends on your skill.
At the end of the day, and
Yep.
when push comes to shove, we just want to have a great time with the games that we can play. I love a good streamlined experience. I love a good, like you said, it's 2 gigs, so it's a nice tight experience. Totally different with Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3, Drake's 120 gigs.
Oh yeah, no, it's on the other side of that spectrum.
Complete other side. Completely.
Yeah.
It's pretty
But
wild.
big world.
It is an awesome. I was gonna say it's pretty wild to see how big the world is, how much you get in that. Like they say Larry and them. They're like, no microtransactions. There's no planned DLC. We want you to have the full story out of the box. I've been playing the early access since the very beginning, following it. I'm loving it so far. Me and my girlfriend are killing it. But
Nice.
yeah, it's very fun. Multiplayer madness and
Role playing even.
very which is really cool. Larian, if anyone's played the Divinity Original Sin games, those guys are perfect when it comes to that kind of reactive content.
That's cool. That is so cool. Multiple endings and all of that.
With multiplayer baked in, like player interactions amongst each other baked in. So like you and your partner agreeing, disagreeing. It affects your overall demeanor of everybody around you and your endings. It's pretty cool.
Wow, no DM required, huh? No
Not
game
yet.
master.
Hey, you know what? Alexa can be your DM these days, right?
Yeah, we're there.
We're there, but you know what? I love this track from Knuckles Chaotix. Drix, tell us what this is.
This is from Knuckles Chaotix. It's called Seascape. Let's rewind that back, Selecta.
We're gonna jam out to Seascape right now. CFM Radio. We are live. CFM Radio. We are live.
CFM Radio. Let's go.
Let's go, CFM Radio.
Just in time.
Just in time. And I don't think this next segment's just in time, Drix. I've been grinding away at this game for what seems like forever, but I've been having a great time doing it. This is a CFM review of Final Fantasy 16.
Yes.
So, it's been no secret that I picked this up at launch. I've been smashing my head up against this wall for what seems like forever. Final clock in time, 42 hours. So, funny enough, around the same time as Pikmin. I shouldn't say that. I haven't. My little brother's playing some Bloodborne right now, so it's one of those things where I'm gonna just. I'm pretty sure it was more than Pikmin. So let's say 45. It was a pretty long game, but I will say, very fun. In spite of what people may say, in spite of the smash square to wins, what's a combo system? Not a real Final Fantasy. Despite all of those complaints, I'm actually in the camp that says this is a great Final Fantasy game. Easily the best written Final Fantasy game in God since 10.
Yeah.
It's very. You know what? I'll be generous. As far as core plot writing, it's about as solid as 12. And funny enough, it kind of hits all those same beats too, where great beginning, great middle, then the end's coming around. It's kind of like, oh, okay, well, this is how we're resolving this. All right. Regardless, though, solid story, great characters. That's really what drives the heart and soul of Final Fantasy 16 are the characters. Clive, Jill, Sid, Gav, everybody, Otto, everybody at the hideaway is memorable. All the royals and nobles are memorable. All of the character work in Final Fantasy 16 is fantastic. As is the capturing of the I want to say traditional and authentic Final Fantasy flavor. You got your Marlboros, you got your goblins, you got your different classes on display: dragoons, knights, paladins, thieves. All of these kinds of classic, whatever you expect to see in a Final Fantasy game, it's in this game. And it's cool to see it in this way. The action combat is engaging. Again, I like to think about the game's combat as you get in what you get out, what you put in. You can choose to do the mash square and win, and that works. But you can also decide to really push the combos and really try to get a high damage, because the more cohesive your combo that you do in the stagger state that you put an enemy in, and recognizing the different windows of opportunity that you have with your different abilities, like the Garuda, when you stun an enemy not his penultimate stun form where it's like a burn phase in Final Fantasy 14, but the middle of that meter, you see it here in the B-roll, this character has a life bar and a meter underneath him. At the midpoint, if you have Garuda, he actually does a mini stun, and you can use Garuda's power of pulling an enemy towards you. It won't pull him towards you because he's a bigger enemy normally, but if you hit him in that stun window, you grab him by the face and pull him down to his knees. And it gives you another opening So, and then you can push the stagger bar. That's what that little yellow bar is. You can push the stagger bar even further into the next true stagger form and just get him there and push your damage. So if you really do learn the cues, you really do learn how to maximize the windows of opportunities that you get, you're just really, these enemies, even big dragon types enemies, even enemies, storyline type enemies, they feel powerless against you.
That's good. Nice, worthwhile grind. Rewarding anyway.
Well, that's the best part about it, is that there is no grind. You just kind of pick up these abilities, and the grind kind of is there, but every icon ability. Yeah, exactly. It's more in the execution, because every icon ability, yeah, there's unlockable ones that you can get with your skill points that you get by leveling up and stuff like that. But they're pretty much all given to you up front. And so the game really doesn't feel that, and this is where your mileage is going to vary with Final Fantasy 16. It definitely was my test. Honestly, as a Final Fantasy diehard, and as someone who really loves the series for what it is, really loves, I love Final Fantasy 15 for the fact that it really tried to preserve that turn-based menu shuffle while going through the action combat like Kingdom Hearts. I mean, you just can't do it better than Kingdom Hearts, unfortunately. But it really tried, and I really like that it tried to respect that. This game doesn't respect that. This game says this is an action game. Sorry.
Oops. All action.
Oops, all combos. Like, and I loved it. I ended up loving it. Because you have in the B-roll right here up against this storyline boss, you have these moments, these quick time event moments that spice up the action in the boss fight, because you get the quick time events, and they are classic God of War style quick time events, but mixed in. This is the part that mixes in with the Final Fantasy drama really well. It makes the drama feel interactive, and these quick time events don't feel cheesy like they do in maybe a title like God of War 3 or other games like Bayonetta 2 that just shove quick time events down your throat, right? You got a quick time event you can't rest in your cutscene because you gotta be you gotta be smashing a button.
The feeling. Yeah, something's gonna happen.
You better be paying attention. Like you better be ready.
So put that color down thing in your safe and cutscene.
Yeah, like the best part about this game is that those quick time events, the cutscenes and the storyline moments feel good enough, and the presentation is solid enough to where you feel like these moments are you, and it's you getting your hit in. Like, the game is giving me my chance to get my hit in on this boss in the same. So like Clive is a badass, boom, 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 boom. But now I'm gonna press R1 and I'm gonna get wham, my big hit in, wham, because these big hits normally aren't the big climactic hits. They're like the setup that stuns the villain for Clive to go in and land his big smash hit, which is awesome, and it feels great, and it ends up feeling like Clive is the badass, and you are controlling Clive, so therefore you are the badass. And I feel like that is the idea that Yoshi P wanted to convey when he said that this is a game with the soul of a PS2 game.
Wow.
Like, I'm the character, right? I might control the character, and I might be like the one who is executing the cool moves in the moment for the long stretches of the boss fight. But Clive is awesome.
Yeah.
And he is undeniably a badass. And like
cool hair protagonist.
Yeah, like actually way more subtle anime hair than most much more reserved anime hair. Like
more Game of Thrones hair.
Yes, exactly. So, speaking of Game of Thrones, if you love Game of Thrones, you're probably going to love this. You're going to love Final Fantasy 16. They say that Yoshi P made his whole team watch Game of Thrones. It really shows.
Wow.
There's a lot of that inspiration there. It's very palpable. But again, okay, so here's where my main criticisms come in. My main criticisms come in with the less than elegant departures that Final Fantasy 16 embraces. Because, make no mistake, this game is a genre departure, a whole hog. There is no messing with menus. There is no shuffling through any of that at all. There's not even really any party members. Your party members are very fluid. Like you have your dog Torgal, and that's your mainstay, and he's there all the time, and he's a badass, and he's your buddy, best boy. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, even like the characters that you think are permanent aren't very permanent, and they get changed out again. Much like Kingdom Hearts style, like, all right, so I've got Goofy and Donald, and one of those guys is going to be my mainstay, and I'm going to switch one of them out for Jack Skellington, or Jack Sparrow, or Tron, or, someone else is going to come with me on this adventure that my context-sensitive teammate is going to be here with me, and he's going to assist me on this part of the story, because it makes sense, right? It makes sense that he's here, and that's all well and good, but it makes it so the RPG like there is no stat crunching in this game, really. Like there is no stat crunching. Your two main stats that you get from gear are like rudimentary stats that are essentially no duh stats. Like you're never gonna have a moment where you're looking at two swords and you're like, fuck, I really think that this sword is better than this one. But if I'm honest with myself, the way I play leans more into this piece of gear. That doesn't happen in Final Fantasy 16. This gear is just better. You're stupid for not having it. Like, if you don't want it, then you just don't want the numbers boost, because I don't know why. Furthermore, the easy mode of the game, and here's a controversial decision, or I guess you could call it an interpretation of mine, but I think it's the intent of the developer. The easy mode of the game is actually in the gear. So there are pieces of gear that allow you to automatically dodge, and not just dodge like haphazard, like it's a perfect dodge. Like Clive just perfect dodges everything.
Wow,
automatically.
Like random chance somewhat.
Yeah. Like he just dodges.
Random crits are balanced, yes.
Yeah, like no, it's not random crits. You just get crits. It's crits for you. Crits are us. Like,
come on down and get your crits.
Come on down and get your perfect dodges that you don't need to execute at all. So you have that. You have a ring that automatically uses certain special abilities for you, and you have a ring that automatically executes the highest damage possible combo that you have. So like,
wow.
Yeah,
of that Final Fantasy 12, like you can program your battles a little bit.
Right. So okay. So you understand that we've been here before.
Yeah, a little bit.
You understand that this is nothing new, really. like when you're sitting here and you're confronted with this, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Didn't we do that one time?
Like we've done this before, and but I will concede that it is very jarring to realize that we are. It's very jarring to realize that this is an action game where there are things like perfect frames and. Best example I can give of a frame perfect maneuver that you, the player, need to have a good grasp of combat to execute is a parry. So to do a parry in Final Fantasy 16, you need to hit your opponent. You need to hit your opponent's attack.
Oh yeah, so, that's a parry and not a block.
Right.
Somewhat.
So that like essentially gives you like a big slow motion moment where like the world is slow mo but Clive isn't, and it's one of the most rewarding maneuvers you can do. I don't think there's a ring. If there is, I never found it, or I didn't care to use it. I never used any of these rings because I'll get to a why in a second. But like honestly, there are maneuvers in this game that are super rewarding, like the parry, certain moves, like the moves that I'm doing right now in the B-roll with the thunder attacks, like those moves where you do need to charge and you might not want to use the whole charge. You might want to put some charges on some enemy, some charges on another enemy. So you can play the game and let the game play itself, right? And in an action game Devil May Cry setting, it is really weird like to play a game like that just kind of like wow, it's Devil May Cry but it's like a mobile game. Yeah,
but like I don't necessarily have to. I can just kind of hold down the autopilot.
Yeah, and it's a very jarring experience for sure. But again, I'm gonna go back to like what you said. We've been like Final Fantasy 12, like what I said, we've been here before. Like, this is nothing new for Final Fantasy as a franchise. This is just, I just don't think people have really seen the seen the presentation in this type of gameplay style. And it's a very, very jarring thing. But if that's how you're going to play, that's how you're going to play. And I personally believe that, because in the beginning of the game, you do pick action or story. Those are your difficulties. Action or story.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, I do believe that maybe story should have just been, like, that should have been how you play story mode. Instead of, like, here's some rings. Because I'm going to tell you, Drix, there's some gear that you get in this game that's fucking awesome. It's like, all right, we're going to cut this one cooldown of this badass move. Like you've seen me do it in this B-roll. It's like a big flaming explosion. Like, we're going to cut down the cooldown of this by like 25%. So
yeah, more big fire moves.
Yeah, more big fire moves. Where the next we're gonna augment like this charm augments the damage of this giant charge punch move that you get later on by like 15%, 20%. So if you don't do autopilot gear, you're dishing out tons of damage.
Yeah, big numbers.
Big numbers. But unfortunately, that's where the RPG ends. The RPG ends at big numbers. Big numbers go bigger. Big numbers make stagger happen faster. It ends there. Crafting is not unique. It actually kind of feels like if you missed a big crafting epic or legendary item, you kind of fucked up and didn't. Like you missed a really obvious thing, or like you fucked up and beat a boss the wrong way. Like you messed up if you missed one of these good crafting items. Like there's no real exploration. It's very much like Final Fantasy 13.
7.
Like Final Fantasy 13.
I feel like you'd walk past materia or certain items.
Yeah.
Like, well, there goes their ultimate weapon or whatever.
Yeah, like it's very, very one note. The world itself is like very closed off. It's very classic Final Fantasy in that way. Like think back to like Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 4, where like you have the world map, but you're only going to specific places, and some of those specific places link to other specific places. But it's very, at the end of the day, very small. I wish you could have explored more. Whatever you might think of the storyline and how cool the characters are, the juxtaposition of hard-boiled medieval political intrigue of Game of Thrones style imperial power and what it takes to grab that power, the juxtaposition that has with giant kaiju battles just kind of makes it's just not a very, it doesn't create, they're both awesome, but when you combine them, it feel inherently disjointed. Whenever I'm looking at one, I feel like I'm waiting for another, and it's never clear what points those are. There were some times where I was playing through the end of a kaiju battle and I'm like, fuck, what the fuck are the implications of this kaiju battle? And then there are times when I'm sitting here listening to this political intrigue and I'm going to be like, is the next kaiju battle I'm going to have against this guy? Like, you know, like,
Is the icon just about to erupt and start wrecking house right now?
That's exactly
in the
how
middle
it
of this
is.
conversation.
In the middle of the conversation, like what's actually happening? And there are times where the game comes dangerously close to the levels of ridiculousness that we fear, but it never jumps whole hog into it, which I'm glad about. I'm very glad that it doesn't happen that way. But honestly, Final Fantasy 16, it's gonna be a game that I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5, straight up. Graphics are amazing, combat's great. You could play combat in a lot of different ways. I'll say it like that. The soundtrack is incredible. The characters are amazing. The plot is the best written plot Final Fantasy has had in a very, very long time. It falls apart, but it doesn't fall apart until the very end. And there's just so many things to love that juxtapose with the bad things, where it's like it's not a very open world. There are a couple of mechanics in the game that do ultimately feel meaningless in the grand scope of the game and what you're actually doing when you're sitting down and playing the game. You kind of get these mechanics, like unfortunately your chocobo is one of these mechanics where you're sitting down and you're like, why the fuck do I even have this at the end of the day? The world is so fucking small. I don't even need this shit. And it sucks because it's a chocobo. Yeah, exactly. It's a novelty chocobo. So like,
I want to ride them around and collect artifacts and stuff.
Yeah, right? Like, so there's
or
that.
At least race them.
And that's, yeah, right? You don't even get to raise them. Like,
not the game for mini games.
Yeah, no, definitely not the game. Well, sort of, kind of, but very different style of mini games. It's a very different Final Fantasy game. I love it. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, I suggest you check it out. If you're not a fan of action games, but you're a fan of Final Fantasy games, I suggest you wait until it's on sale. But it's one of those games where I feel like the spectacle alone will sell you, just because the moments that it gives you are so priceless and engrossing.
Like a good VFX film.
Yeah, very much so. But that's Final Fantasy 16, our 4 out of 5 CFM Radio. Drix, it sounds like we're going to be jamming out to a battle theme.
Oh yeah, from the first ever Final Fantasy. Could have very well been the last one. Look at how far we've come. Here's Battle Scene from Final Fantasy for the NES on CFM Radio.
The OG Final Fantasy CFM Radio.
key and unlock our destiny. Spread your wings together, tattered wings unfurl through freedom, changing our world with the bow of the eyes to fall secure. In the dark, unable to see, I stood tall and dared to dream, to find the answer, just one answer, and the truth will lead us as one. We will ride through the eye of the storm, holding on to hearts beating strong, keeping our eyes on a new horizon. The tides of war will turn with our I recall the days of our youth. All around was safety and peace. How could I know then there'd be a time when all would fall at the foot of a beast? On the day we took to the skies, full of hope, so anxious to fly, we soared higher and never tired, with a fire deep in our eyes. And with guiding hand we'll fly back through the corridors of time, to find the key and unlock our destiny. Spread your wings together, tattered wings unfurl through freedom, changing our world. When the smoke fills the air, I will be there. In the face of disaster we stand, racing firm, we'll fight and defend. The cries of thunder and angry thunder, testing those who built on the sand. They can try to tear off my wings, but they can't erase all my dreams. We'll fight for freedom and beat the system. This is our turn, this is our
CFM Radio.
We are back. We are listening to Halberd, Nightmare Warship, and Kirby Superstar for the Super Nintendo.
We do love this one. This is a classic. Kirby Superstar.
Oh yeah.
One of the best games you can play on the Super Nintendo. It's on the Nintendo Switch online service.
Mm-hmm. Play
But-
with a friend.
Oh man, and that co-op is so fun. Hey, give me that Yo-Yo Kirby or that Jet Kirby assisted. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. And you will be assisted.
Capsule Jr. What's up? All right, so Final Fantasy 16, controversial game, and speaking of controversial titles, Games Radar sat down with Battlefield 2042 senior producer Ryan MacArthur to reflect on the rough road the game has walked and their new Dawn content patch. The headline is, quote, DICE reflects on Battlefield 2042's long road to redemption.
Yeah, it's been a while, and they've made plenty of updates, polished it up. What did they have to say
Let's check it out.
about that journey?
From the article, MacArthur says that the first 6 months were a particular struggle as the studio attempted to process all the criticism that came its way. We did, quote, we did a lot of soul searching right after 2042 came out. I'm a big believer in the idea that how you make something is reflected in what you make. So when we started looking at how we wanted to fix the game, we took a really hard look at not only at the game itself, but how we made it. We had gotten away from making it with our players that had gotten lost in the pressure to get the game out. So it sounds like they just wanted to get that game out the damn door, Drix.
Yeah, sounds familiar, you know?
Yep.
It's an art form, and rushing it sometimes will cause you to make some mistakes and stuff. You know?
Catastrophic mistakes. Reading
You gotta
further,
be brave putting your stuff out, but make sure it's good.
Oh, I mean, make sure it's truly expressive of what you want it to be.
Yeah, express your intent.
Exactly. And you know, reading further, MacArthur says that each season has seen the player base expand, and with it, the team's enthusiasm. With each of these new releases for players, the team got more and more excited. It really helped get their creative juices going. He continues. I think that's why every season has been better than the last. Look at not just the core work, but the weapons that we made. The fact that we reworked every single map we shipped in this game at launch. With the last one coming out at the end of Season 5. That's something we've never done before. That's a direct quote from him. The producer also spoke about the community backlash to fan base voice during the early life of the game. Quote, initially it was harsh. What was coming back was tough to hear. Players were unhappy, but we knew that the disappointment came from a good place. They loved this franchise. So a lot of this process was saying to the team, let's take this harsh feedback, let's see where they're at, and really understand what we missed. You know, it sounds like the game is only improving with the push to Game Pass. You know, it looks to be going great for DICE and EA these days, Drix.
Yeah, I mean, after hearing this, you know, I'll pick it up when it's on sale. I'd like to play it.
I mean, shit, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, there's no excuse, right? And yeah, it's kind of unprecedented, you know. Like, we love a good redemption story, you know, and
No
the
Man's
underdog coming back. Yeah, I mean, I got to dive back into that too. Maybe get some B-roll, but because you can do that nowadays, and it might not be a lot of fun for the marketing team or whoever's scrolling through those comment sections and being like, "Ouch, guys, that one hurt." But you know, it's a learning experience.
Absolutely.
And it's fun to follow if you're not getting flamed on the internet. That is
right. It's easy to talk about like, oh man, take this as a learning experience when you're not the one getting flamed. But truly, it sounds like the senior producer Ryan MacArthur, he came in and he's like, you know what, we are going to take this as a learning experience.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's worth it to get people playing your game, yeah, give it the time. Hit it again on the anvil, why don't you? Maybe
Hell
it'll come
yeah.
out a little sharper.
Hell yeah, Drix. And you know what? We're going to get into some new releases. But first, what are we listening to?
We are listening to Deadly Arts for the Nintendo 64. This is the Kai stage.
Deadly Arts, Kai Stage, Nintendo 64, CFM Radio.
terra, futebol e o gol! O futebol. O futebol. O futebol. O futebol. Futebol. O juiz apita, começa a partida, o maior espetáculo da terra, futebol e o gol! Estádio lotado, arquibancadas congestionadas, futebol é assim que te sinto. Escorrega a bola até a pequena área, a torcida vibra, surge um perigo, arremata e chuta. Gol! Maior espetáculo da terra, futebol e o gol!
CFM Radio.
Oh yeah, this is Splashdown. It's like the second level from Rystar, Zone 2, 1.
I love Rystar, one of the unsung Genesis hero games. Fantastic game. If you haven't played it, I think you could play it on Switch Online if you haven't played it.
Oh boy, yeah, what a gem. That's great. Resurrect him, you know.
Resurrect Rystar.
Shooting star character. He just grabs things and headbutts them. I really liked platforming and climbing around in that one.
Yeah, climbing around was awesome.
Surprised I haven't seen more of the 2D games do some of that. At least like, you know, fun hookshot stuff. But
you would think like, you would think like Klonoa and like games like TriStar, games like that would.
Bionic
Commando, yeah. Bionic Commando.
The
All
first grappling hook I remember.
Yeah, all these games, you think they would be big indie game darling style mechanics, but you don't see them a lot, and it's pretty weird.
Soundtrack still slaps.
Still slaps. But you know what? You know what else slaps? New releases. And you know what? We have to say, Baldur's Gate 3 is the new release this week. I make way for Baldur's Gate 3. Like,
yep. Not just on your hard.
Yeah, there ain't a goddamn thing else coming out this week. So, you know, which blessing in disguise, really. Like, there are so many games. There's Pikmin 4, there's Final Fantasy 16, Lego 2K Drive, the Crash Team Rumble. There are so many games that you could be playing. Street Fighter 6, so many games you could be playing right now. Huge, meaty, giant games.
Yeah. They've been hitting lately.
They've been hitting pretty well. So,
games of the summer.
If you don't want to pick up Baldur's Gate 3, it's coming out in September on the PS5. Get it on the PS5 if you want to get it with no muss, no fuss. That might be on the PC version. I haven't gotten anything yet, but that's just where we are right now. There's no new releases, but next week you do not want to miss Tuesday, August 8th. It is the release of WrestleQuest from our good friend Patrick Hickey Jr. He's doing over 90 voices in the game. WrestleQuest. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up the Steam page. By Megacat Studios. Yeah, by Megacat Studios. Comes out.
Cool thing about them is they actually still make games in cartridges.
Yes.
Like, they put out releases that are still for like Super Nintendo and Genesis and Game Boy stuff. So interesting stuff. If you're still into physical copies of games, you might want to check that out.
Yeah, Megacat Studios definitely. Cat Quest, awesome series. Funny enough, like if you actually really like those RPG, like fun little linear RPG,
shoot 'em up action RPGs.
Yeah, shoot 'em up action RPGs. Cat Quest is engaging. It's super fun. I always
I have 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I've actually played them a bunch. They're really fun.
Yeah, they're super great. So check out WrestleQuest next week, August 8th. Everywhere. Netflix, Steam, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. It's on everything.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Check out Patrick Hickey Jr. Minds Behind the Games. Legacy Comics. Drix. We are jamming out. Speaking of Street Fighter 6. This Street Fighter 6 theme from a brand new character.
Yeah, Marissa's theme. Or Marisa. The song's called Pancration from Street Fighter 6.
Pancration Street Fighter 6. We are here. We are live.
We live, baby.
CFM Radio.
CFM Radio.
Radio.
Hi.
You know, Drix.
Video game, music, and news. What we do
every week.
That's what I know, anyway. At least.
And you know what, Drix? Come on. I don't know why Xbox just can't stay out of the news.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks in a row. Different developers, huh?
Yeah, it's not like any of this is fantastic or great news. We've had the FTC going on, with all their dirty laundry airing out through that. Now you got all the devs, not all the devs, I shouldn't say that. You have devs coming out and just saying this Xbox, man, is just a tough cookie to develop for. Because, Drix, we have another dev that comes out to speak about the difficulties of developing on Xbox hardware. So, I don't know what you want to call it. It's either X or Twitter. I don't know.
Yeah, I uninstalled it the minute I saw that logo on my phone. I was like, nope.
It doesn't even matter. It's the same thing. Like, the Control, a dev on the team for Control, critically acclaimed game, Thomas Puha posts, and quote, from his personal Twitter, "I feel Larian's pain on the Series S. It's not about, quote, just optimize at the end, lol. Nah. You have to take into the account the technical limitations from the beginning of development. Nobody really wants to think of that when you start making your game, when everything is possible."
Yeah, starting the tech debt in the code very early on because you want to make a game for an Xbox, huh?
So this isn't something like, okay, so there's a very similar phenomenon in, funny enough, fighting games. So the early days of rollback netcode were a very interesting time to be a fighting game fan, because you had rollback netcode on essentially emulation software first, and that was where it was pioneered on GGPO. And that was a great innovating. It was made by the Cannons, Tony Cannon and his brother, the people who founded Evo. So like, these people love fighting games, and they wanted, for a long time, fighting game online experience was predicated on delay-based netcode. And if you've ever played a delay-based netcode fighting game like Street Fighter 4, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, All-Star Battle, like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 OG on the Xbox 360, or the network version on the Xbox 360, any old fighting game on PS2 or the original Xbox, anything like that, you have experienced delay-based netcode and you understand how much of a fucking nightmare it is to play. So when rollback came around, obviously it was a phenomenon, and everyone was like, man, every fighting game should be like this, because it's kind of like it, or at least it gives you the feeling of playing without very much input delay, so your reactions are realized better when you're playing online. Whereas delay-based netcode, you could lose inputs. Your input could come out literally one whole second later. It all depends, right? It's a delay. It's whenever your data gets there. The point of the matter is, what I'm trying to get at is, this sounds like a lot like that in the way where you need to think about rollback and putting it in the game at the very beginning. Your game needs to be, all right, we're making a fighting game that has rollback netcode. It can't be this, we're making a fighting game and then like halfway through, oh, it should have rollback netcode. Doesn't do that. And the proof is in the pudding, because there's a GDC talk about netcode and rollback netcode when it came to Mortal Kombat X. So Mortal Kombat X originally had delay-based netcode. The devs came out and they said, we're putting rollback in it, because by popular demand, we're putting rollback in it. And they had a whole beta period for rollback netcode. So, like, they tested this thing hardcore. you look at the GDC talk, and they essentially needed to redesign the whole fucking game, but keep it the same, so that they could put rollback netcode into the game.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of doing it right the first time.
Yeah. So
backtracking.
It seems like these developers. Now, again, I'm not a game dev. I don't know anybody personally, no family, I should say, in game dev, and I don't correspond with anybody in game dev who's always there all the time. But this really seems like devs were told, hey, we got this new Xbox, it's going to be great, and we've got a lower powered option, but it shouldn't hinder your development space and creativity, right? It shouldn't do that. Nothing like that shouldn't happen. But apparently it does, because unless you're thinking about it from the baseline, like rollback netcode, it can be very difficult to go back and retroactively think about, oh shit, now I gotta make it work on this piece of shit.
Yeah. Don't worry, you won't have to worry about it. It won't change anything, except you'll have to think about it the whole time.
The whole
from
time.
The beginning.
From the beginning. Like, you know, so it makes a lot of, like, when you think about that, a statement like that you need to be thinking about it from the jump. And then you think about Larian, you think about those guys who created the game Quantum Error, you think about all of these devs who are coming out, the Trine guys, you think about them, they're coming out and they're saying, man, this fucking thing is a bitch to develop for because it bottlenecks us. We have to think about this hardware that's like old, while we have, I'll just say it, while I have a PS5 staring me in the face and it's not telling me, hey, you need to design software and games like they're 5-10 years old.
Conform to my hardware.
Yeah, conform to my hardware, where, you know, you have the and it's not good enough. This game can't be an Xbox Series X exclusive. It has to play on both.
How could this be? How could this have happened?
Like, clearly that's the mandate, right? Clearly, like, it has to play on both, or else we would probably have more Xbox Series X, or like what they did with PS4 Pro, like PS4 Pro enhanced games. You know what I mean? You'd see those on the box.
Yeah, that's something they'd want to advertise.
I guess you just can't do that. It just needs to run the same.
Yeah, as an older console.
You know.
Okay. Sure thing, Microsoft.
I mean,
Blizz.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where, like, you expect that much from the Switch, because the Switch is basically, you know, you're walking around with a souped up Xbox 360 essentially. But like, you know, but
what's
like,
the excuse from Microsoft?
who you know, my
making
PC
operating
game.
systems.
Yeah, making operating systems, like, eesh. That doesn't seem too good.
These personal computer things kind of worked out in Microsoft? I don't know.
Hey, but you know what? Either way, we're gonna get back to the music before we sign out for the night. Jakes, what are we gonna listen to?
I love me some Ape Escape. One of the few games I've completed. This is the T-Rex's Lair from Ape Escape on the PlayStation 1.
Love Ape Escape too. Ape Escape Classic, CFM Radio, T-Rex's Lair.
what am I? It's time for me to choose my path. The power of my God hand, no evildoer will get past. Hand to hand or fist to fist, kick your nuts or twist your wrist. God power keeps my pimp hand strong, so trust me or you won't last very long. Dragon kick your ass into the Milky Way. Milky Way. Don't act like you don't like the Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur. My arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, the summon of the powers of the God hand. I lost a limb in a fight, but don't worry, babe, I'll be cool. The ultimate power of a god is now my secret tool. My defenses are impregnable. My style is impetuous. If it's too much, I'll grovel at your feet. I beg for mercy when I feel the heat. Jaw-dropping attacks from my roulette wheel. Apocalyptic beatdowns from the God hand. My arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, I summon up the powers of the God hand. Everybody wants a piece, who's next, don't be a fool. Hyperactive fighting style, so slick they will make you drool. The God hand helps me work out my stress. It's overpowering, I must confess. The only person who it doesn't work on is the girl who got me into this, Olivia. Slicing through thugs with my shockwave. Shockwave! More beheadings than a guillotine. Head slicer. Head slicer! My arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, my arm, I summon up the powers of the God hand!
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for
listening.
watching. Thanks for listening. However, you have our little tab open. Whether you revisit us later on YouTube, we really appreciate you guys stopping by and checking out the video game music and news here on CFM Radio.
Every week here at CFM Radio, we have reviews, news,
New releases.
new releases of the week,
Mhm.
weekly game cast, the best tunes. Absolutely.
Listen out.
The best video game music you're going to hear on the
Mhm.
internet.
Mario agrees.
Drix, I think it's about time we got out of here.
Oh yeah. It's been fun. It's been real. We talk the talk and we jam the jams.
Keep gaming, everyone. See you next week.
See you next time.
Nani? 野戦?
I know that you'll be back.